You want to be sexual with the girl as early as possible, and then you want to continue making it even more sexual throughout the interaction. This way, you're going to further cement the frame that the two of you are going to be hooking up. Now, there are also other reasons why I definitely recommend being sexual with the girl very early on. The first one is because you want to hook up with her, and you're interested in her, and you're excited to get sexual with her, and you can't help it. If you're approaching the girls that I've been telling you to, this should be a no-brainer. It should be very easy, and you should be excited. And you should not do it because I told you to, but because you want to. But at the same time, if you find that you're not that excited, you definitely want to cut it off and find another girl, because that means you're just not that into her. So the other reason is because she should know that you want to hook up with her. If she's into you, it's going to be taken as a huge compliment. She's going to really appreciate that, and she's going to like that you're making moves. And if you don't go for it, you're basically telling the girl, I'm not that into you, you're not that hot, you're not that special, you're just kind of like every other girl, and that's going to be a pretty big insult to her, and she's not going to like it. It's also one of the best screening tools out there, where if you're sexual with her, you're forcing her to decide whether or not she likes you. And so if she likes you, she's going to want to come home with you, and she's going to like when you put your hands on her and so on, do everything else that's sexual. And all you'll have to do from there is solve any logistical obstacles, which I've talked about in the structuring the pull section. If she doesn't like you, she's going to reject you, and then you get to move on to a girl who is. And either way, it's going to be a huge win, and the only way it's going to be a lose is if you don't make a move, because then you're not going to find out the answer. Also, other guys are just going to stay out of your way, because they're not going to want to cock block if they see her super into you. They'll either assume she's your girlfriend, or they'll assume that she's too into you, and it would be too awkward for them to make a move and start interrupting your interaction. Unless it's me, of course. If I see her and she's hot, I'm still going for it, so watch out. But because there's so much value in escalating, it's going to be incredibly important that you take this very seriously, and that you make sure to begin getting sexual early in the interaction. And if you remember, all girls are down to fuck, and that's just so important for you to always treat them that way, because the girls that are into you, they're going to appreciate it. And again, the girls who aren't are going to leave you, and then you get to move on to a girl who you're more compatible with and who would actually appreciate you. Remember, the only difference between a person who's sexually confident and a person who's a creep or a pervert or who feels that way or is interpreted that way is that the sexually confident person is totally comfortable with their sexuality, and they're not ashamed of it. They realize it's a big part of who they are, and they own it, and they understand any girl who likes me would appreciate it. Any girl who doesn't like me, it doesn't matter, because we wouldn't get along anyway. Pretty much the model I want you to follow is that you're going to be escalating with the girl all the way until the point that sex happens or she becomes uncomfortable. And when she becomes uncomfortable, you're going to take the pressure off by backing off, and then when she's comfortable again, you're going to start all over again, continuing to escalate until either sex happens or she becomes uncomfortable again. And that's the way you want to keep proceeding. So there are two types of ways to get sexual with the girl, and the first one is physicality, and the second one is verbals. So physicality is obviously anything that involves you touching the girl. So that could be you and the girl holding hands, it could be you putting your hands on her thigh, it could be making out, or you putting your hands on her or her hands on you. It could also be that you are feeling around each other's body, and pretty much anything that involves touching and being sexual with one another on a physical level. Yes, there are a lot of ways where you can become very physical very quickly, especially when you're very skilled. But I would still recommend, unless you have that level of skill, just do it gradually. You want to space it out and not do anything too crazy too quickly, because then you might overwhelm her or scare her, especially since she just met you and doesn't fully know what you're about. And also, when you're gradually doing it, you're not only going to basically save yourself from scaring her, but you're also going to be able to create this sexual tension build up where the girl's wondering what's going to happen next, and she sees you going for it and adding a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, and she's going to get a little bit more turned on and then a little bit more turned on, and then it's going to continue that way. So if you're new, a simple escalation ladder that I'm going to give you to gradually expose her to your touch without overwhelming her is going to go something like this. First, I would say stand close to her. 6 to 12 inches away is more than enough. That's actually a pretty good place to be. This way, not only will you be able to occupy her entire attention because you're right in front of her, but the other thing is when you go to touch her, it's not going to be like going for a kiss like that. It's not going to be anything weird. It's going to be something like an inch or two. It's going to be way closer. It's going to be so much easier. And also, when you do that, you're getting used to being in each other's space, which is going to be very important for sex to happen. From there, while I'm standing close, I might take her hand and I might look at it and then, you know, touch her wrist or whatever. You could, if you need an excuse, ask her about her watch and say, oh, where'd you get it? Or her bracelet. You could just take her wrist though, and you could put them right on your shoulders. And then from there, you would put your hands on her lower waist, on her lower back, right? And then you'd start escalating further. Sometimes if the girl takes her hands off though and she starts lowering her hands off your shoulders, I'll just literally put them right back on my shoulders and smile, which is going to come off very charming to her, and she's going to blush and she's going to love it and she's going to be okay with it. From there, you go for a kiss on the lips, not on the cheek. So if you go for a kiss on the lips and you get it, awesome. Now you're going to go for a makeout and make it more and more and more intense. From there, if you don't get the makeout and you actually get the cheek because she turned her face, that's okay. She sees you go for it, and that's going to turn her on and excite her, especially if she didn't leave. And then you could just go for it again a few minutes later when she's a little bit more comfortable. From there, you'd feel up her body. So you'd, for instance, when you get hard, you're going to press yourself into her, or you'd take her hand and then move it down to your crotch and let her feel that. You also might feel her ass or her boobs or whatever else, and then you're going to start taking each other's clothes off. So you'll take your shirt off, then you'll take her shirt off, then you'll take your pants off, then you'll take her pants off or her skirt or whatever, and so on. And that's just how it's going to work, where I would recommend taking off your clothing first so she doesn't feel awkward that she's the one naked and you're not. And when I give you this sexual escalation ladder, I want you to know that you want to space this out. Don't do this any more than, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes apart. You don't want to wait too long, but you want to be gradual about it and spread this out from all the way from when you meet all the way until you get to the bedroom and you guys start getting ready to have sex. As far as verbal escalation goes, sometimes it's going to require a little bit more skill depending on who you are, but it's okay. You want to get this out of the way because this is a really fun thing and there's a lot of cool things you can do about it. So a great way you could go about being verbally sexual is share with her stories. I'll get more into this in the storytelling section, but I'm going to give you one right now just so you could get a little bit of an idea for the time being. You could tell her, for instance, a crazy place you had sex or a cool experience you had. So you could say, yeah, the craziest place I had sex was definitely in a club. I remember the girl was smoking hot. She did modeling for some big brands and she had an amazing ass and back dimples, and it was a very, very hot girl. I was so turned on by her. And I remember she also told me I was the second guy that she hooked up with because she had been a lesbian her whole life and now she just started opening up to guys. And I don't know if that's true or not, but we hooked up on the side of the club, on the side of the dance floor where somehow no one saw us, and I thought that was so crazy. So yeah, you know, who knows what'll happen. Maybe we'll check out the side of the dance floor later. That's a great way to share a story while at the same time hitting on her. You could also use what I call sexual qualifiers, where you tell her, wow, you have fucking an amazing ass, or you have amazing tits. Or I might say, wow, your legs are fucking so hot. And that's a great way to compliment the girl. You're going to compliment her sexually without making it into a big deal. You could also talk to her about fantasies that you had about, let's say, you know, places you want to have sex, or people you've wanted to have sex with, or you could even talk about things you want to try. So if you're going to talk about things you want to try, you could tell her, oh, you know what I really would love to do? I always wanted to have sex in a place where I wasn't supposed to, like a library, and then just see if I get caught. And it would be so hot, just that thrill of will we get caught, at the same time knowing we're not supposed to be doing it there. You also might tell her about let's say people you wanted to have sex with. So you could tell her, oh yeah, I had the hottest professor back in college. She was, she would always tell us that we had to do homework, and I would try to do my work, and all I'm thinking about is, damn, I would love to rail this teacher. And so that's a great way to express another sexual side about yourself, which a lot of people think you shouldn't talk about, but actually it'll be very, very helpful to talk about that, and it'll show her that sex is not a big deal, and even being interested in other people is not a big deal, and that she doesn't have to worry about being judged by you. You could also talk about positions that you like and say, yeah, I really love doggy style, but it's so much hotter if you get to pull the girl's hair and smack her ass. Then it's like way more fun. So just so you know, I really hope you're into hair pulling and ass smacking. You could always ask her about her sexual fantasies too. So you could ask her if she likes neck bites, or if she likes hair pulling or ass smacking, or having her ear nibbled on. These things are always great to ask. You could ask her if she likes grinding or having her ass grabbed. You could ask her about her sexual positions that she likes the most. So do you like doggy style more? Do you like missionary more? Do you like getting your hair pulled during sex? These things are great conversation pieces if you want to make it sexual. You could also tease her about her sexual side. So for instance, if she told you she went to Catholic school, you could say, well, okay, I'm totally thinking about you in a hot Catholic school outfit. That is fucking sexy. I like the schoolgirl outfit. Do you still have it? Okay, you're gonna have to bring it over one time, and I want to rip that fucking thing off. That is a great way to get sexual. And you could also throw in sexual misinterpretations, which is another fun way to go about being sexual. So for instance, imagine you're at the bar and she says, what's taking this guy so long to come? And she might be talking about the bartender bringing over her drink, but you could make a sexual reference implying that she wants somebody to come on her, and you could say, so where do you want him to come? And that'll make it very exciting, very fun, and she'll joke around and laugh with you. So basically, what you want to do is talk about your own sexual experiences, and you also want to talk about her sexual experiences and things you both like and things that you both enjoyed in the past or want to try. And then what you'll do is you'll also just talk about how you guys would hook up. So you might very easily say, okay, I don't know if or when this is going to happen, but if we hooked up, that would be fucking awesome. I think we'd have a lot of fun. I think our chemistry is so good, and you're clearly fucking hot, and that would really make this way more sexual interaction. I have a memory of a girl that I was being sexual with that for some reason it just stands out in my mind, where I approached her and she was from China, and I was telling her I was going to come and visit her country. And she told me, yeah, well, when you come, you better hit me up and I'll be your tour guide. And I told her, well, you should be my sexy tour guide. And she says, I can't. I have a husband. I'm married. I could be your regular tour guide. So for one, now I found out that, okay, we have a little bit of an obstacle if I really want to hook up with her, because she's not totally available. But it also allowed me to start making things sexual. And so I started saying, okay, you could be a regular tour guide, but do I get to have sex with a regular tour guide? And she's laughing and she says, oh, I can't, I'm married. And we just start exploring about what are the accommodations of a regular tour guide. Okay, so blowjobs, are those allowed? Okay, what if we get fine print saying there's special, for certain guests we get special accommodations? And it was just joking around and being fun and being sexual and being playful, and not letting it come off as a creepy thing that we both need to hide or keep secret or that we're not allowed to talk about.